you and Al had a house in Idlewild, is that where it was?
Right.
And you had all of these things. You had solar. You used solar power
So
from hot water.
we were completely off the grid.
Okay.
So solar, we had generator backup if we needed it, but the only time we needed it if it had turned cloud in, it hadn't started raining yet, because we also had a water turbine
Okay.
that goes through a truck. I'm going to get the words wrong. Generator thing.
Okay.
to create electricity, and then that was sent to the battery storage. So I had a very good partner that knew how to contact with people who made these things, and because he was the solar contractor for a while.
Wow. You know, last when we were talking with the previous interviewee, we plugged Mahalo, which was the company that installed her heat pump for her.
Right.
Who did you use? Just to keep it fair.
Well, I know, but I didn't say because I've drawn a blank.
Uh-oh.
But it's the Roseburg. What's the other one?
There's
Adcock.
Adcock. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Adcock, but they were really good. And with this old house that we bought after the fire that we're living in now, they ran into a problem where we had decided to put it, where they had to, help us decide to put it. And they worked real hard and got it to work, where it's at, and then gave us, because it took them so long, gave us a bonus off of what worked. So, but the guys that put it in were amazing.
So the wonderful place that you off the grid in Idlewild burned,
Right.
and that was last summer, the summer before.
It was Archie Creek fire, so
Okay.
it was 2020.
Yeah.
It's amazing how years fly by.
I know. But so now you're rebuilding,
Yes.
and what are you going to put in that you didn't put in before? What have you learned?
Everything's different.
Okay.
We decided not to be off the grid because we were both in our 70s, and the whole process, you want things easier.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got electricity brought into the property. So, but he's building with environmentally friendly blocks,
Mm-hmm.
which is really recycled styrofoam and cement, and then filled in like regular blocks. So insulation is amazing.
Yeah, I bet.
And it also has a 5-hour fire resistance with it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole program through Douglas County and Energy Trust and the Douglas County building codes to make you get a certain grant if you do everything fire protected.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a whole different way that he's building the house.
And if the place is going up in flames, you've got 5 hours before you have to figure out how to get out of it.
Right, we got enough torches to get out. Right, but so that's different,
Yeah.
and it's so well insulated. A lot of people that have done the blocks before said you hardly need any heating and cooling. I mean, you need it, but and so we're looking at the mini splits again for upstairs and downstairs, because we made it a daylight basement downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And we have my treasure that I bought after the fire is an antique wood stove range. That is for looks, but it also will work.
You can cook on it.
You can start a fire on it. You can cook on it. You'll have our modern kitchen with all the. Well, I don't do dishwashers. Well, I guess we're going to put one in because if we sell the house, it helps sell the house. But we don't have the disposal. The fewer electrical appliances, the better, actually. 'Cause when we were off the grid, you had to really pay attention to what you used your electricity with.
Yeah. So, well, I always had this fantasy of setting up a bicycle that would I could ride it in the morning and power the generator enough to dry my hair, or
Well, you could run a light bulb. anything with a heating element takes a lot of electricity.
Yeah.
So when we were up there, we didn't have toasters or hair dryers. I mean, you could use them during the day because we had solar,
Mm-hmm.
And if it was sunny, we could use it during the day. But
That seems, that somehow seems risky to me, counting on solar in a place like Oregon where it rains so much.
right, and if the solar guy was here, he would say, "Well, Florida
Mm-hmm.
has less solar advantage than Oregon does.
Really?
Rains more there."
We'd have to invite him to speak with us because I want to know how that works.
So that's the whole solar talk of,
Yeah.
excuse me, getting you to buy solar. But he's retired supposedly. Now he's building a house. So let's see.
So the heat pump, you had one put in here in this place that you bought while you're rebuilding.
Right. We thought we have this house was built in 1946 and it has an old, well, it's not an old, but has an oil gas furnace.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some lung problems and stuff and asthma and stuff, but I had the heating guy come out and they cleaned the ducts and stuff, and he was saying that part of the ducting is still with fiberboard and it blows through your house.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and so we have an air filter too, but and then just trying to get away from using gas,
Mm-hmm.
and so we got the heat pump because of that, trying to get away from the fossil fuels.
Does it feel like it heats the place enough, or are you comfortable?
This has been the first year that we've done it, and we were more concerned about the cooling
Mm-hmm.
because we also have the backup of the furnace. We have the backup of the old air conditioner too, but we did find this winter when it got super cold. We just shut the rooms that we weren't using off because we only have it to where it's in the living room and angled so it can bounce off the walls and get into the bedroom.
Okay.
And the kitchen gets some.
Yeah.
So it probably with this little house, it probably would. We went back and forth whether getting one or two, and we went with the one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been efficient.
And where do you stash it? Where do you put it?
It's up on the wall, right? You walk right by it when you came through my house.
So it's in the living room, or
It's in the living room. And it's
Oh.
up on the wall above the couch.
Yeah.
The horse picture.
Yeah.
It's right above that. So
Wow.
it just kind of blends into the wall. I mean, a little less than since they had problems with the foundation and underneath trying to get the piping in. So some of the piping is on the wall, but it's under a plastic thing, so it's
So
kind of blends in.
I think that has this been easy, switching from electric and gas to solar, and I mean, is it easy enough for most people to do it?
Yeah, when you asked me that question, nothing's been easy for the last 2 years. I'm sorry, but
My house burned, you idiot.
but the companies, Adcock and Mahalo, they work really well with you.
Yeah.
And you can ask as many questions you want, or as few as you want, and say, I just want it to work, and this is the rooms that we're interested in. But he would describe, because we were looking at different places, and he even drew a little map of how the fans would bounce off, the air would bounce off walls, and if you're in the kitchen and you have the oven fan on, it would help draw air and stuff like that. So they're very helpful.
Yeah.
Solar is another thing because we have no solar contractor here in town.
We don't?
Anymore. No. And we know a couple people, but they're now in Salem. That's people that had worked with Al and he had trained and stuff. But and there's big companies coming in. There's 2 houses that have got solar in the neighborhood recently. From the big company comes in, but it seems like they're overcharging. But it's been so many years since we've done that we're not up on prices and inverters. But it's so much better now that with the inverters and with the panels are more efficient, the inverters are more efficient than when we started, because that was 30 years ago we started putting all that in.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, 23 years we were in the house, but so it wasn't 30 years, but it was, because we moved into the house in 2000, but we moved up to the property in 94. And so he had set up a small system on his own then, and then as we built the house we moved into, system just got bigger.
How did he learn how to do that?
It's just who he is. It's just who he is. He decides he gets onto something, and we went to classes. We went to different, we went to LA and different places like that, and learning. And
Do people teach classes about it now, about solar power around here?
no, in fact, that's how he got into it, actually. And same with log home building, because we built our own log home from the log truck came and dropped the logs off. We did it, and but with the solar, he started teaching classes through UCC, global warming, different. We were on the solar home tour and stuff, and people said, "How do you do this? How do you?" So he started doing classes himself and things like that. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I'm pretty lucky to
Yeah.
have that resource.
Yeah, 'cause, we're thinking about tacking black garbage bags up on the west side of the roof. Just to, I don't know.
The best
running
thing,
wire.
one of the easiest things I learned by tagging along to these conferences is if everyone would just put a white or light colored roof on their house, it would save tons of energy. Because what it's doing, and especially now that there's no snow, the snow fields are leaving. It's like a snow field, so it's we can back up and will help cool the planet.
Well, I heard a guy on the radio one time say that if everybody switched out their light bulbs to whatever it is, the new light bulbs, that we could kiss Saudi Arabia goodbye in terms of importing oil. And I thought, I'll change out mine and my neighbors too, They go,
Yeah,
for those guys.
when the fluorescents came out, there was a big push to get change over there. Now we have LEDs, which are even more and more efficient, and they last longer. And they don't do the funny fuzz stuff when the new lights. And that's the easy thing to do is switch out your lights.
So if you were talking to the public like we are now about what would you advise people to do first? What's the simplest thing they can do first?
The first thing to do is get an audit through Energy Trust to see what your house needs for insulation, leaking around windows, places that you don't realize are letting the cold air in and the heat. And we're doing that. I think but Energy Trust is a good resource for that, and anybody can contact them, and they're really good at helping.
That's good to know.
Yeah, and so the first thing people could do is just and we've heard it for years. This insulate around your doors. Now with this new building code, instead of double, well, it's also with the fire thing. They have us put in triple pane. Spendy though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Some of the things are spendy, but the simplest thing is, get your house insulated, get an audit, see where things are leaking, coming in, the air is coming in. Turn off lights. My grandkids, now my great grandkids, it's always Grandma. You left the light on. Left the light on.
Just sit around in the
It
dark.
was more important when we were on and off the grid because that took the power from our battery. We were the power company.
Yeah.
And but Grandma, you don't need to worry. No, turn out the lights when you leave a room. Simple things.
So of all of these things that you've done, the electric vehicle, the solar, and the heat pump, which would you suggest to people that they do first? Like,
Well, after the insulation of the house and stuff.
Yeah.
So the heat pumps are probably right up there. And you say, well, I'm never going to get rid of my gas stove, but then it's like, boy, those new induction stoves are amazing. I'm looking at those.
thank you for doing so much. Really, thanks to you and Al. We'd like to come over and talk to Al sometime.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like he knows everything about.
Oh, and you get him talking. Be careful. But yeah, and it's our passion too, because like when we were trying to decide whether we were going to rebuild or not, which was a really tough decision. Life is compromised, and he says, I want to walk my walk. And to just get a stick house somewhere else, well, plus we left the land, so it was going to the land was going to has us.
Mhm.
And so he's trying to make it zero energy, to where he uses as much electricity as he produces back to the grid, because he will go get more solar again.
Mhm.
After that fire, the one thing that survived was out in the meadow, and it was our solar tracker, still going like this.
Really?
No wires to send the electricity to.
Mhm.
But that'll come. But
Yeah.
first, we have to get the house built.
Yeah. Thank you. We've been
Well-
talking with Trudy Walker today about all of the stuff that she's doing to save the world, and we're proud of her.
Yeah. Since the 70s.
Since the 70s.
70s.
So we got to help y'all. She's getting tired.
Yeah.